Welcome to the Lucas Orta Experience with your host, Lucas Orta. Today, I want to talk to you guys about video games. The culture of video games and online gaming has been very influential and one of the most important things in my life. I want to talk to you about a couple different things, and we're going to have a few different segments here, starting off with the history of video games in my life. I want to date back all the way to when I was a little child and I'd play with my brother and going through elementary school with video games all the way up until now as a sophomore in college. Next, I want to talk to you about the different relationships that have been built through video games in my life. And I have a few guest speakers that I want to bring in, and I want you to hear their sides of the story. And then lastly, I want to talk to you about the competitive side of gaming that many people don't know of and how similar it can be to different sports. And it's been something that I have been a part of for a lot of my life and continue to be a part of, and I just want to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy. Kick back, relax, and grab some popcorn and enjoy. Okay, let's start with the history of video games throughout my life. I want to say that it all started around maybe 5 years old, maybe 6. I remember we used to have, we had an Xbox 360, we had a Nintendo Wii, and I had my own Nintendo DS. I'd play a bunch of different games on there. I'd play Super Mario Brothers. I'd play Mario Kart on my Nintendo. Same on the Wii, those kinds of games. But what was very important was the Xbox 360. My older brother would play those games religiously with his friends, and I would just be sitting there watching him, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to play with him. I was just completely infatuated with the games he was playing, and I never got a turn on it. That was the sad part. I never got a turn on the video game. I'd sit there, I'd watch him, I'd beg, and, he never really let me play. It was partly because he was a jackass older brother, but also because my parents were very strict on me playing, shooter video games, which is all that he had. So for a few months, I remember just sitting there and begging and getting, stubborn no's, get out of here, no one invited you, those kinds of responses out of him. But finally he kind of came around to it. I think he liked that I was interested in what he was doing and wanted to bond with them. And slowly but surely he started letting me sit there and watch him. He'd even tell me what was going on from time to time. And then one specific moment, he had to get up in the middle of a game. I think he had to go get a snack. And I just remember he was like, Luke, grab the controller. Yeah, if you want to play, you can play. And all I can remember was just the most intense excitement coursing through my veins. It was like a dream come true. I remember I picked up that controller. I was shaking. I wanted to impress him. And I just wanted to see how good I was. And I remember I played amazing. I think I got something like a 20 kill streak. I forget what it was called. And his friends were also in the game, and they were like, Dave, this is not like you, man. You're never this good. And I remember I talked on the mic, and they were like, wait a minute, is that Luke? And I was like, I was so embarrassed. I was super shy. And my brother comes back. He sees how well I played, and he all of a sudden just like completely shifted his tune. He gave me a lot more respect since then. And then after that, he started playing with me. He started giving me an extra controller. He took the risk, of my parents finding out. He was only about 13 at the time, 14 at the time, and I was like 7. But yeah, the two of us started playing together, and that was, I would say, the first influential video game that I played was Halo and those kinds of early 2010 shooter games with my brother. Next, leading to I believe it was my 8th birthday, my parents had eventually figured out that I started playing the shooter games and how obsessed I was with them. So I convinced my mom to buy me this new upcoming game released by Bungie, which is the creator of the Halo games. It was called Destiny. And it was marketed as a teen-rated shooter game. There was no blood. It wasn't as intense as the Halo game. And so I put up an argument and I convinced her, and she bought me it for my 8th birthday along with my own Xbox. Xbox One at the time had come out. So I got a brand new shooter game and a brand new console all for myself. And I remember, that was my favorite game by far. This game was simply just something you had to experience. And I think also going through it at such a young age made it a little bit more impactful. But just a small context, just the premise of the game. It was a multiplayer shooter game that involved both online player versus player PvP gameplay, and then also online PvE, player versus enemy, which was just like against aliens and those kinds of things, where you and a group of buddies could go play against the computer and do all types of missions and raids, and then also being able to play against your friends, if that kind of makes sense. And you'd collect armor, you'd collect different weapons and level them up. But yeah, so that was the game, and I used to play this game every single day for a few hours at least, all the way back in the 3rd grade. I'd play every single day, and I just became obsessed, and something just clicked inside of me. It was like, I have to be the best at this game. And that competitive nature that I have just kind of took over me, and all I wanted to do was practice at this game and just be better and better at this game. There was a PvP, player versus player game mode called Trials of Osiris, and essentially what it was that you needed to win 7 games in a row to earn a title called Flawless. You have to win 7 games in a row. And I remember that's all I was striving for, just to get 1 Flawless. And it took me, I don't know how many months of playing the game, but I finally got it. I think I got carried by one of my friend's older brothers. He took over and just took us under his wing, but we eventually got it. But yeah, I played that game for a few years. One of my favorite games of all time. So many memories made on that game. And then the next important game in my life was Fortnite. So I know you guys have probably heard of Fortnite, and I want to say I played it when it was cool. I played it when it had first come out back in 2017. I had heard about it through one of my friends, and I was in the 5th grade. I heard about it through one of my friends, and we played the pre-released version, like the demo version that had come out. And I fell in love with the game. I knew that it was going to be popular, and the thing that's important was I was initially very good at the game. Like, it just came to me. I was very good at the game. And I started playing with a bunch of different friends from my elementary school. I started playing with people online, and what was important was I was obsessed. I played this game more than Destiny. I played this game more than Halo. It took a hold of me. And yeah, I think that was around 5th or 6th grade. Basically, if you don't know what Fortnite is, it's a battle royale type shooter video game in which 100 people get dropped down onto an island, and they have to find weapons, and they have to eliminate everybody else and be the last one standing. So I became very good at that game. Some of my skills from Destiny and Halo had transferred over, but I was super competitive in it, and I played that for, I'd say, about 4 years, at least 4 to 5 years. With I occasionally still play it now, every now and again. And that brings me to the very last important game in my life, and that is Valorant. Valorant is how do I explain it? It's like an extraction, like a bomb extraction kind of game. It's a 5 versus 5 shooter game in which there's attackers and defenders. The attackers have to plant a bomb on one of the sites, and the defenders have to stop them. It's very similar to Counter-Strike, if you've heard of that. It's pretty much the exact same thing, just a little more cartoonish. But this game got released in the heart of 2020 in quarantine, and that was when I was in the 8th grade. I started playing this game, and it was like, the only way I know how to explain it was it just felt like a more grown-up game to me. It felt more competitive. It felt more serious. It felt like all of the skill that I had been accumulating over the years could finally get put into this game. Like, you could not be good at this game unless you had that skill. There was no handouts. There was no aim assist where you get helped aiming like there is in other games. It was raw skill. You either had it or you didn't. And I did. And I was able to excel very quickly in that game, climbing rank. I remember, I think I got up to like diamond rank in that game within the first like month it came out, which is, among one of the highest. And that game took me on a very, very long journey of, just seeing how competitive I can be, which we will talk about later. But yeah, Valorant was the last influential game in my life, and is the game that I currently still play. It's I want to argue one of my favorites. It's definitely up there in the top 3. If Destiny were still around, if the servers were still up, which they may be, if people still played it, you bet I would still be playing that game. That is still my number 1 favorite. Okay, so next, guys, I want to talk to you about the relationships that I've formed out of video games. Okay, so let's talk about the relationships that have come out of these video games. And I know it sounds silly, but it's true. I have formed a lot of important relationships and helped a lot of relationships through video games. The first relationship I'd say that was strengthened by them was my brother, my older brother, David. I talked to you a little bit how I'd watch him play his games when I was younger, and during that time I have a huge age gap with my brother, so it's about a 6 to 7 year age gap. So I'm 20 right now, he's 26. Back then, when he used to still play video games, he was, a middle schooler reaching high school, while I was barely even in elementary school, if that. And so it was hard for us to bond, the two of us. What was he going to talk about with his younger brother? There's nothing really there, which I know can be very difficult. But, in my mind at that age, I would argue I was smarter than I think I should have been at that age. And I knew that was the dynamic between us. So I didn't blame him. I just wanted to find some sort of common ground with him. And that was video games. As soon as he saw me taking an interest in his Halo Reach game that he played with his friends, the two of us started hanging out more. We started playing it together. We started watching movies. But then also it just kind of opened his mind to hanging out with me. Before he thought I was this little kid that, couldn't relate to him in any way and was just the younger brother that kind of sat in the background. But after he realized that, I was interested in video games and that we could play them together and we could have fun together, that kind of just opened a bunch of doors for more things to happen. And, that definitely helped my older brother and I connect. And that was just like the starting point, if that makes sense. So next, I'd like to talk about, let's see, there's middle school, I guess, would be the next most important point in time where some of these relationships were formed. It was around, I want to say, 8th grade when the pandemic hit. I had just switched from private school back to public school, and private school was a complete failure. Didn't make any friends there. People knew that I was good at video games at the time. They knew I played Fortnite, but, I didn't really have too many friends back then. And when the pandemic hit, this friend group messaged me, and they were basically just like, hey, we remember that you used to be really good at Fortnite and you used to go to Landon. Do you still play? And I was like, yeah, I still play. What do you know? That same day, I'm playing with these 3 guys, Sam, Sean, Nikki, and we're playing Fortnite and we're having a blast. I just met these guys for the first time, in a while. I had seen them in school, but I never really had any meaningful conversations with them. And to be quite honest, I didn't like them. I don't know if I associated that if I associated them just with the school and didn't like them, or if they were just annoying little kids in middle school and I couldn't deal with them. But nonetheless, I started playing with them and it turned into an everyday kind of thing. I'd get a message, I'd be like, hey, get on the computer, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm on. And we play for hours. I remember that first year that we started playing together during that pandemic, we would play for hours. I'm talking 7 hours average gaming session with the 3 of us. 4 of us. Forgot my friend Nikki. But yeah, we would play for so long. We played Fortnite. We played a bunch of different games. But it all started just with that first message sent to me, just asking if I still played. And Our relationship was pretty much strictly online, which is very unique. You know, the pandemic was going on. We had never really hung out in person before, and we were just comfortable playing games with each other, so that's what we did. We stayed playing games, and it turned into like they were my best friends kind of thing. Like, video games were one of the most important things in my life, and they shared that interest with me, and they valued it just as much as me. So because of that, I just valued them. I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but they thought the same things that I thought were important. And I enjoyed doing it with them as well. So we very quickly just became all best buddies. So we played through 8th grade together, 9th grade together, and then 10th grade up until about that summertime. It was all online, us playing together, or us hanging out together. And then around that 10th grade summer, I had gone down to the beach, Ocean City, Maryland. If you guys have ever heard of that, it's a great place. And what do you know? My friends had also gone down to the same beach. They had gone together. I had gone with some other friends from my public school. And they were like, Lucas, you're here? Let's all meet up. And so that's what we did. We went to the beach. And I have to say that was one of the weirdest moments in my life. Just connecting that voice to a face and just actually seeing them in real life as opposed to just on the computer was something that is very difficult to put into words. But it was an awesome experience. I had a great time. We hung out on the beach, played spike ball, threw the football, went in the ocean. We had a great time. And it was like nothing was different between us. It was just like we were playing online, but just, in person, as weird or sad as that can sound. But we had a great time. And, ever since that moment, we started hanging out every single weekend. I started getting invited to all of their things. And a friend group just really was created in that moment at the beach. And they are still my best friends to this day. And although we had a difficult start to our relationship, just playing every now and again online, I want to say that it was because of video games that the opportunity was ever there for us to become friends. If video games were not a thing, I couldn't say that I'd still have these best friends right now. I don't think they would even be in my life. So I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity to meet them, and they're my best friends. What can I say? But yeah, we all still play together. I mean, we're sophomores in college. I have a friend that goes to school in Virginia. I have a friend that goes to school in South Carolina, and one in Boston. And, although we don't play during the school year together because some of them don't like to bring their computers, as soon as we come home for any break, you bet I will find all of them on their computers at any given moment during the day. And if not, then we're hanging out together. We are just constantly with each other. And it's awesome. It's awesome to experience that almost nostalgia when we're playing video games now, it feels the same as when I was just starting to play with them. And it makes me so happy when I go back home and I get to play with them. Even though I know we can just hang out in person, and I probably prefer that, it's still just it creates a weird feeling, if that makes sense. It's just a weird feeling to like play with them again after having done it for so long and then just abruptly stopping when we all left for college. So I hope that they all bring their computers like these next coming semesters, so that we can play consistently like we did again. But regardless, I'm very grateful for the experience as a whole. So yeah, I'd like to bring in my friend Sam to get his 2 cents on everything. So I'm going to welcome Sam here, and we'll hear what he has to say.
Hey guys, my name's Sam Rose. I'm a friend of Lucas's from back home. So yeah, my thoughts on the story. So me and Lucas attended middle school together, and we weren't the closest of friends, but we were friendly, like saw each other in the halls and stuff, but we weren't too close, anything like that. And then Lucas left to a different high school, and I remained at that same school for high school, and we kind of lost contact. Didn't really think I'd ever hear from him again. And then one day, one of my buddies, Sean, that I still went to high school with and I'm still really good friends with, reached out to Lucas on Twitter to see if he wanted to play Fortnite with us, because Lucas used to be very good back in the day.
Yeah.
So we all decided to hop on together, and at first we just played a game or two. It was super fun, nothing crazy. Then maybe a week later, played another game or two. Week later, so on. Started becoming more consistent. Became like something part of my routine before after I would finish my homework, I would play some video games with them before I went to bed, and it started becoming something I really enjoyed doing with them. Eventually, this turned into more of a full circle thing where me and Sean actually were able to hang out with Lucas in person and go to the gym. And
hold on. Let's slow down. It was like I don't know, maybe wouldn't you say it was like a year maybe or 2 years where we were just like only play like online, like COVID through like ninth grade, right?
yeah, probably like beginning of COVID to like end of COVID, and then when COVID ended and people could start leaving their houses again, we decided to
We
meet
were
up
like
and go to the
quarantined.
gym.
Um, yeah, but then was it 10th grade? Was it 10th grade summer that we like hung out or what?
I think yeah, 10th grade summer was like when we really started hanging out. I think we hung out like for the first time earlier that winter, but when we really started hanging out, because free time, obviously not being in school, was starting that summer. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so we hung out for the first time. We went to the gym. That was like I don't know, what were your thoughts on that after like us having played for like 2 years without I guess seeing each other since like middle school?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting experience. Obviously I had known Lucas before, but I hadn't seen him in a few years, so both of us had changed a lot. We were both very different, but um, it it was very enjoyable in the sense to reconnect with someone who I used to know from middle school, and then hang out with him.
But like we still like knew each other though. Is like which was like that's kind of what I was writing about. Is like we like knew each other, but like we didn't, if that kind of makes sense. Like we
Yeah,
played with
yeah,
each other like
definitely.
every single day, but we just like never hung out in person, which was like kind
Yeah,
of like unique, I guess.
yeah. No, it was definitely an interesting experience because we were, in a sense, very close friends with each other, but we hadn't actually hung out. And then when we started hanging out, it was picked up right where it needed to be. And then we started hanging out with Sean, and then our other friend Nikki, and then eventually Lucas started coming to back to some of the hangouts from our original high school, and formed into this large group. Now we're all in the same group chat together, super good friends, same fantasy league, planning trips this summer together. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right, and then like I guess another thing is, which I kind of talked about, was like when we like go back to like when we go back home to like uh Potomac for like winter break and whatnot. How do you feel about like playing games now, like compared to how we used to do it like every day?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so it's an interesting experience, for sure. When I'm at college, I typically don't play too many video games. So when I get home, it serves as an opportunity to not only continue playing the video games again, but also reconnecting with my friends in the way we started becoming friends. Obviously, we hang out in person over winter break, but it's a nice thing to do because I'm relaxing from school with video games while also like doing what initially started my friendship with my very good friend Lucas here. So
All right,
I
awesome.
don't that yeah.
All right, yeah. Okay, so next I want to talk to you about the competitive side of gaming. And like I briefly stated, it all started when I got that first game, Destiny. It was my own game. I had a sense of independence, and I didn't have anyone watching over me. You know, I could play and be terrible at the game. What would the point be? You know, I don't know. Something just clicked in my head once I started playing that game on my own. It was like, if I'm gonna do this, let me try to be the best that I can at it. And so I played that game for hours on end, just trying to get better and better. But I was too young. You know, I didn't have the necessary, I want to just say brain development and just necessary cognitive skills to really get as good as I could. You know, if I was playing someone double my age, if I was playing a teenager who was also dedicated to the game, they would beat me. I mean, 100%. That's just kind of how it works. But for my age, I was very good. I was very good. I remember I would watch different YouTubers and Twitch streamers, which is just live streamers, who played the game, and I'd sit there and I would just study them. I'd see, like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I'd put in the reps, I'd put in the hours, and I got really good at that game. As good as I could for my age, that's what I'll say. And then as I started getting a little bit older, I transitioned into Fortnite. And I would say I was about 12 to 13 years old. And man, I beat everybody to the grind at getting good at that game. I started out just with a strong passion. I was like, I'm going to be the best. And, you know, I was old enough to really think it out and just, I mean, I had a lot more time than other people because I was in middle school and early high school. I had all the time in the world to get good at that game. And so I did. I played a few online tournaments that Fortnite created, and I remember I placed top 500 in a few of them. And that's top 500 in, I believe, just like different regions of the U.S. So not internationally, but in, you know, the West Coast, East Coast. It was the East Coast. I'd placed top 500 in a few tournaments. So I was very proud of that. And I was better than everybody. It's better than the people in my school, better than my friends. I would go for as many wins as I could, and, you know, after reaching a couple thousand plus wins, I realized that there was no point in it anymore, and I wanted to just strictly play for money and play tournaments. And it was around that time that I was still playing on controller, but I had a computer. So I was playing on controller, but I had a computer, and there were some limitations, and I wanted to play other games as well. but I couldn't do so on controller because I was playing on the computer. So I had to switch to keyboard and mouse is what I'm getting at here. And that switch to keyboard and mouse really took a toll on my skill level. I was going from being the best and beating even people on keyboard and mouse in Fortnite to having to relearn everything. And everything I thought I knew, it was just entirely different. And I am one of those people where if I learn something new, it takes me a while for me to get good at it. But I'm willing to do the necessary steps to get good at it. So I'm very disciplined. And if there's something that I'm very interested in, I will get good at it. It just may take me longer than the average person. So starting on keyboard and mouse, it took me a very long time. I wasn't that great at Fortnite anymore. And I was not able to keep up with the current competition. People who had already been playing on it were getting better. The people on controller were still better than me. It was taking me a while, and it had me really down. And I started doing this practice called aim training on this video game, or like, I don't really know how to it's not really a video game, but it's just a tool that you can use to practice your aim called Kovacs Aim Trainer. And I have put over 1,500 hours plus into that aim trainer, just getting my mouse control or aim with my right hand with my mouse as good as humanly possible. A combination of reaction time, hand-eye coordination, and overall just motor function skills and just control of, your fingers, your hand, your arm, your shoulder. All of that is what makes up, a good aimer. And so I dedicated myself to getting as good as I can or could with my aim. And then around that time is when I switched over to Valorant. And that is the main topic of this discussion. Valorant is the game. As soon as I started playing that game, I remember all of that aim that I had worked on, it showed. There weren't many other mechanics or things you had to get good at in that game. If you had aim, you were going to be good. And so very early on in that game, I remember I just skyrocketed up in the ranks. It started off, there's iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and then immortal and radiant. A lot of different ranks. I immediately skyrocketed up to diamond right when I started playing. That left me with 2 more ranks to go before I was at the very, very top of the game, which is top 500. And so I saw this and I was like, I'm naturally just very good at this game. I should dedicate myself towards this. And I had never been so good at anything before in my life. Other games that I had played, I was good for, my school or just, people around my age. I was good. I was better. But compared to everybody else in the world, I was just some, mediocre kid playing the game. And this was the first game where I was like, okay, hold on. I could really be one of the best if I put my mind to it. And although no, I didn't become one of the best, I got really good at this game. I started putting in hours upon hours of not just playing the game, strictly practicing the game. And there were tools within the game to practice, which are a little bit hard to explain, but yes, I practiced as much as anyone could. I dissected the game in every imaginable part you could to figure out, okay, these are the different mechanics to become good at this game. Let me work on each one individually every single day until I've mastered each mechanic. It was almost like a puzzle piece. You know, I'm good at this one, I'm good at this one, I put it together, now I have everything I need. You know, you can relate this to other sports, like basketball. You know, you have your shooting, you have your dribbling, you have your game sense, your court vision, you have your defense. You know, all of those are puzzle pieces that you have to put together to be one good player, and that's exactly how it worked in this game. And so I was old enough to really think these things through and plan it out and be like, okay, here's what I need to do to get to where I want to be. And so I did it. All throughout high school, I practiced, I played, I got better and better. And before I knew it, I was top 5,000 nationally in the game. I reached Immortal 3, which was the second highest rank anyone could be in the game, unless you were top 500. So I was very proud of this. And, you know, it showed me just the power of your mind, and it showed me the power of just dedication and persistence and breaking things apart and just taking things step by step and how much impact that can have. You know, and I have related that to a lot of different things in my life now, whether it be schoolwork or whatever it is, schoolwork. You know, if you can break things apart, take it step by step, it makes any impossible task possible. And so that's what I learned from that. And I just overall learned how competitive I can be. So I'm very grateful to have had that experience. And I still today, believe it or not, am playing Valorant and trying to get to that top 500. I'm still trying to get there. And I'm taking it day by day, and I'm trying to relearn the different things that I've already learned when I was younger to get back to that skill level. And I'm hoping that I can get there, and I'm sure that I will. But yeah, so there's my side of the competitive side of gaming. That's my story on it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to bring in my mom to get her opinion on it.
Hi there, I'm Lucas's mother. Hello, everyone.
So, Mama, how would you say video games as a whole have played a role in my life?
I would say that video games for you, Lucas, had a positive impact on you for a few reasons. One of the biggest reasons, I think, was that you were able to establish some relationships with your buddies,
Mm-hmm.
which I think meant a lot to you, and I think that was probably one of the most important outcomes that came from it.
And you're talking about Sam and Sean and Nikki and them, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Your friends from Landon. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
I think also playing on the video games gave you a little bit of a release, sort of therapeutic for you when you were stressed out
Mm-hmm.
with things. You know, it would help you find an escape where you could, you know, then off of the computer gaming, you know, you would be more at ease and able to move forward and whatever else that you were doing. So I guess the second most important thing is that it offered you an escape.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that video games are something that I turned to whenever I was stressed out or just wanted to entertain myself, I guess. Just distract myself
Right.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Also, I also think, Lucas, it helped you with coordination. You know, I don't know. I think that it helped
Coordination,
with, you
like
know,
in what way
like
are you talking about?
like hand-eye coordination.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, I was pretty good at like basketball. I remember that.
Right.
I think that could
Well,
have been helped with the gaming a little bit, or just yeah. I mean, yeah, just in general, I feel like it helped. Wait,
I think so.
talk about. What do you remember? My eye and like my eyesight.
Right. Well, you had a weak muscle in your left eye, I believe.
Yeah.
And I remember reading something that video games help strengthen the eye muscles, and that doctors were telling kids to go on the video games, doctors whose patients had the same problem. And so that's why at first I let you go on the video games to see if it helped, and sure enough, it did. Actually, you were able to, the muscle strengthened, and you were able to go off the
Or
glasses.
talk about
You had,
yeah. So like
mhm.
explain like how bad. So for context,
So
my
you were legally blind, basically, in that eye. Well, you were.
yeah. I
You were.
what was my vision like 2400 or something?
Yeah, so it was really bad. So I was, but we caught it early because you were in kindergarten. It was still correctable. Uh, so
And my left eye was way out there, right? Like it would look in like a completely different direction.
yes, that's exactly what happened. And the gaming definitely helped, strengthen the muscle of the eye because naturally, when you're moving the eye back and forth, right, you're massaging that eye muscle and and
Strengthening it.
uh, strengthening it, right? And I think it was not even a year, and you were able to go off those glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to have those glasses on um, all the time.
I mean, yeah, although
So,
it didn't fix the issue because my eyesight
right.
still is bad, really bad in that eye. It
Hmm.
uh fixed, I guess, kind of how it looks, maybe a
Oh,
bit.
most definitely. Most definitely, the eye is now straight, so it's not straying. Lucas, I would say another positive impact the gaming had for you was when you had some stressful days at school or whatever. You looked forward to doing the gaming because you were really good at it, and it gave you, confidence, and because you were good at it, and made you feel overall better. When you would stop playing, you always seem to be in a better mood, I think,
Yeah.
and so definitely gave you more confidence, more self-esteem, if you will. And you enjoyed playing him, and you would laugh, talk to your friends,
Yeah.
and it was
It's
just your way of socializing.
yeah. Well, the thing is I was very and still am very passionate about the games that I play. I mean, I really only play one game right now, but I was very passionate towards it and competitive, and it was like it made me feel like almost like fulfilled when I like played and I played well. So yeah, it definitely made
Right.
me more confident in myself. Because I put in a lot of time towards it and a lot of effort, and when it paid out, it was like it was motivating because I saw like what the uh like rewards were to like putting in effort. Like you put something in, you get something out. So yeah. Um
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, I think what's good is you were able to keep it real in the sense that, many kids who get into all this gaming with the guns and all this stuff, like they become a little bit aggressive, and you didn't do that. You kept it real. You knew it was, all fake, and they were all just games, and you were able to, you know, uh, you didn't become aggressive after playing the games. which is a good thing. You
Mhm.
know, it just was more for you, just a stress reliever. Like it was just
Well,
therapeutic for you.
well, yeah, I would agree with that, but obviously, no, I didn't become aggressive whatsoever from it, but I kind of viewed it as um just an opportunity to like hang out with my friends, and I didn't really
Right,
read too much into the games themselves.
right.
So that's why we could play, any number one of games together with my friends, and it would be fun. But like specifically with the game Valorant that I have talked about a lot, uh,
Hmm.
I don't really see it as like, oh, a shooter game. I just see it as something.
Right,
Uh, I don't know. It's kind of weird to explain, but like I almost see it as like kind of like a sport. I know that sounds a
right.
little bit weird, but like it's true. Like it's like
Yeah,
I practice, I take it serious. There's a very, very large competitive aspect to the game, so it's like any other sport. Uh,
right.
and yeah, that's how I viewed it. And
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah. Yeah, so overall, I'd say, positive impact on your life and definitely on your social scene with your friends and everything. Uh,
Another
all in
thing,
all,
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but another thing is um what a lot of people don't really understand about them is I don't know, I was kind of at like a pinnacle like age where I started playing the games and I was talking to people online. Um and I know you're gonna like freak out and you're gonna be like, oh my God, he shouldn't have been talking to people online, which I agree with. But
hmm,
throughout like my whole life playing those games and talking to people, it really helped develop my like social skills and my ability to talk, I think.
right,
And it also brought me out of my shell a little bit because I was like very introverted at first when I was younger and was uncomfortable talking to people. And although that kind of, came back, and it sort of was an up and down kind of battle with my being shy throughout like middle school, whatever, I feel like I overcame it and video games helped a lot.
yeah, I agree with that. And let's not forget about COVID, and your first year of high school was spent at home. So that's a very crucial year for, uh, growing and maturing, and, your social scene basically was cut off for a whole year. So
I
this
know. And
gaming gave you the opportunity to,
and what
somewhat socialize.
yeah, and what I was just talking with Sam about was how we kind of met during, or like not met, but we kind of were
Reconnected.
reintroduced, reconnected to one another during quarantine. And
Right,
although we couldn't actually hang out physically in person, we were able to connect every single day with each other over video games, and that's what kind of kept us sane.
right.
Because I can't imagine all those other kids out there that aren't doing that or weren't doing that, that were just sitting by themselves or
Right,
with their families.
right, right, right. Well, that's not such a bad thing, the sitting
It's
with
not
their
a bad thing.
families. But I know what you're saying. I agree. I agree with you. So, yeah. So for you, I would say was positive outcome, and all in all, did you some good. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mama, for
Okay, honey.
coming on the podcast.
Sure thing. Anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, say bye to everyone out
Okay.
there.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, guys. Well, that's the end of this podcast episode, and I hope that you enjoyed the story. And I hope you enjoyed the insights of both Sam and my mom. So, yeah, thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your day.